Any meeting following. Sometimes I sit there, he's just behind me, to my right, and I just think, goodness, somebody's talking proper sense, and it's not me. Right, so I just want to give a brief look at some of the things that we think are on the agenda for this election. And in particular, to point out that actually, we, I think, over the past few years, have created the agenda. We've actually got the right wing onto our agenda talking about things like minimum wage, talking about living wage, talking about 0 hours. We created that agenda, they're on there and they're concerned about it too. And I want to start with taxation and suggest that the economic model that we've been operating on for the last 30 years, 40 years, is lost. It's gone. That model is low tax, low spend. It means we've got a 0 rate of tax for some, 10% tax for others, and 20% tax for many. Why is it broken? Why is it broken? Because inevitably the costs of running our society are going up, frighteningly so. As we get more elderly, but we live longer, and we require more health services, the bill goes up. It can no longer be low spend. We have to spend more. And that means, and people will not like to hear it, that I believe either services, public services, will go down. They've already lost £65 million at the last period, but there will be frontline services going if we cut again. Or, and this is what people don't like to hear, taxes have to go up. Unless we're going to become like some third world country where we don't look after our elderly and we don't look after our sick. That's, I don't believe, should happen. So taxes are going to go up. And any candidate in this election who tells you that he can keep taxes down, ask him, well, what services are you going to cut? And by the way, how are you going to raise them up? Well, how are you going to keep taxes down? Because inevitably, over the next coming years, we're going to have to pay more. How do we pay more? Well, if we're talking tax, we're talking GST. As we know, we're talking the rate at which we pay tax, income tax. We're talking about property tax. We're talking about raising the cap on Social Security. Now, not many people realise that Social Security is proportional. Everybody pays 6%, right up to £47,000. If you earn more than £47,000, you earn £70,000, you don't pay an extra penny after that 6% on £47,000. So the tax system becomes not proportionate, but actually regressive, just like GST. How much could you raise through any of those measures? Raising GST by 2% would get you in 30 million. Raising the rate of tax to 25% on households, it have to be households, earning more than 100,000 would raise £30 million. Property tax, suggesting raising our rates, or the equivalent, our rates up to the equivalent level in the UK, again, would treble the amount of rates we pay overall and raise £34 million. Raising the cap on Social Security up to 150,000 would raise £30 million. Taking it off altogether would raise about £43 million. So, just scale that down, 2%, which was introduced in last year, 2% extra for employers, raises about £7 million. How much would halving the cost of GP visits cost? I've done the calculation. Would cost around £7.2 million. Around £7 million. So the one there can pay for free GPs. We're always being told to cost things and we have to have the numbers. Halving the amount you pay for the GP, if you only included the elderly and children, which which have the greatest demand for GP services, could be done for around £2.5–3 million. It's not an enormous amount in terms of an overall £700 million budget. I think those sort of moves could and should be done. And they're relatively straightforward to cost. But I've pointed out that there is, yet again, a choice between raising tax and attacking our public services. And we believe passionately that we must maintain and improve our public services, and we'll defend that to the hilt. Already we see as part of the budget there is likely to be either a wage freeze or cap or a recruitment freeze. Imagine a recruitment freeze when we've already got queues for treatment at the hospital. Our classes going up in numbers, schools are filling up more than before. Imagine raising the class size, capping with recruitment. It's not possible. It's not possible. The fact is that we are suffering from a massive shortfall over our predicted income. And we're going ahead spending anyway. Philip Joseph is starting 2015 with an empty pot. There's nothing in the bank. No contingencies, no spare. He's spent everything. The only thing that's left is the strategic fund, the rainy day fund. Why, when he discovered a £100 million gap, shortfall, did he not put his hand up and honestly say, help, we're in doo-doo. It's time to spend some of that strategic reserve to cater for this what it's there for, which is to deal with the occasion when tax revenues from the island businesses and people fall through the floor. He hasn't done that. He's whistled in the dark and pretended that everything's going on okay. Ever the optimist. The cockeyed optimist, I call him, because he's always doing that. Everything's fine, everything's fine. When he knew, 18 months ago, 2 years ago probably, that this big hole was coming. You could see it. That's why I've got emotionally no confidence in him. That's why there are ministers acting against him. That's why I think, come this election, whatever happens to our 8 candidates, I think we will be seeing Philip Joseph again. And I'm very tempted to go to Honest Jacks and get some money on it. Thank you.